What's up, sports fans? This is the Lucas Ross Sports Channel. We continue here with my 2024 college football schedule preview and projected record series. The West Virginia Mountaineers are up next before we preview their schedule for 2024 and give them an early projected record based on how tough that schedule is. Let's take a look at what West Virginia did back in 2023. Here were my projections and predictions last year for West Virginia. My projection had them at 3-9, and then my prediction for them was 6-6. So I was not very high on West Virginia last year, according to my projections and predictions for this team last year. But West Virginia did a whole lot more better than that. This team definitely surprised me a lot last year. They were 8-4 last year in the regular season, but 9-4 overall if you count their bowl game victory at the end of the year. So West Virginia coming off a 9-win season last year overall, and then an 8-win season last year in the regular season. Here was the schedule last year for West Virginia. Look at their non-conference schedule. They had to play Penn State out of the non-conference, which definitely made the non-conference schedule very tough for them last year in 2023. And then they also had to play Pittsburgh out of the ACC. So they had a very tough non-conference schedule. But, this was not a very tough schedule last year. West Virginia, again, was a very big surprise. And you look at the 4 losses last year that they had in 2023. They did lose to Penn State there on the road in the non-conference, and then you look at the Big 12 here, lost 3 games in the Big 12 conference last year. They lost on the road at Houston, they lost to Oklahoma State here at home, and then they lost to Oklahoma on the road. So that did make a tough schedule last year in the Big 12, but let's now look ahead to 2024. Here is the schedule for West Virginia in 2024. Before we go game by game, let's take a look at who West Virginia will play in the non-conference. So this is their non-conference schedule. They will play Penn State in a rematch from last year's game. They will play them this time here at home in the non-conference. Then they play kind of like a cupcake game here against UAlbany. I've never heard of that school. They will play them there in the non-conference, and then they play on the road here at Pittsburgh. So the schedule in the non-conference is kind of, similar to last year. They played one cupcake game, and then they played Penn State and Pittsburgh here, both in back-to-back years. They will play Pittsburgh for the 3rd consecutive year in a row. It looks like they're going back and forth here with West Virginia and Pittsburgh, trying to make a rivalry in this game and everything. But they will play Penn State here. They did play them last year. Definitely did not score on them last year, but this time they do play them at home this year in the non-conference. So that is the non-conference schedule for West Virginia in 2024. Let's go back to the schedule now and go game by game here for West Virginia. So they kick things off here with Penn State here in week number 1 on August 31st. A tough game to start out the year here, but the good news is if you're a West Virginia fan, you do get this game at home here against Penn State here at home on August 31st. And then they play UAlbany here on September the 7th. And then they play on the road here at Pittsburgh on September the 14th. So West Virginia will play their 3 non-conference games here to start out the season. And then the rest of the games are Big 12 opponents. They will open up Big 12 play here against Kansas here at home on September 21st. And then they get a bye week here at the last weekend of the month of September. They come out of the bye week here, and then they play on the road here at Oklahoma State here on October the 5th. So that's a very tough road game there for your first game officially in the Big 12. And then they play Iowa State here at home on October 12th. Then they play another home game here against Kansas State on October the 19th. So you got back-to-back home games there on October the 12th and October the 19th in the Big 12. And then they go on the road to face Arizona here on October 26th. They do get their second bye week here in the first weekend of the month of November. They come out of the bye week here in the month of November to take on Cincinnati here on the road on November 9th. So you do got back-to-back road games here with Arizona and Cincinnati, but the good news is you do get a bye week in between those 2 back-to-back road games. And then they play Baylor here at home on November 16th, and then they play UCF here on November 23rd. And then they close things out here with Texas Tech on the road here on November 30th. So that is the schedule for West Virginia in 2024. My thoughts on this schedule, it's a little bit of a tough schedule when you got Penn State there in the non-conference. Good thing is that you get that game at home. And then you get Pittsburgh here on the road out of the ACC as well, which does make it for a very tough non-conference schedule. Then you got Oklahoma State here on the road. You got Arizona on the road. And then you also got Texas Tech on the road. So they do got some tough road games, but the good news about this schedule is that you get Kansas at home, Iowa State at home, Kansas State at home, and this, they're big games here, and in the Big 12 here in this Big 12 schedule. So it's not a very tough schedule at all. It's not really like a brutal schedule for West Virginia, but let's get to the projection here and find out based on how tough this schedule is. And again, this is not an official prediction. This is simply a projection based on how tough the schedule is, and this is the scale I use here for my projections. If it's a 1% game in the red, those are games where I think that we'll be counting them as automatic losses there for West Virginia. 20% games in the orange. There'll be about a couple touchdowns of underdogs. 40% games in the yellow. There'll be heavy underdogs in those games, and there'll be a heavy underdog in by about a touchdown. 50-50 games will stay in the white. Games that I think can go either way. 60% games in the purple are games where West Virginia should be favored by at least a touchdown. And then the 80% games here in the blue are games where West Virginia will be favored by a couple touchdowns. And then the 99% games here in the green, these are going to be the easy wins here for West Virginia. And also automatic wins and guaranteed wins as well. So we'll start with that percentage here first at 99% here in the green. And when I look at this schedule here for West Virginia, there is only one game here on the schedule that they should be able to win pretty easily. And that's the game against UAlbany here on September 7th. This should be a very easy win here for West Virginia. It would definitely be a big shocker if West Virginia did lose this game, but there is absolutely no reason for them to lose this game either. So I think West Virginia, that UAlbany game is definitely over 95%. Never heard of that school, and I think West Virginia should go out there and take care of business against this team and probably score 30 plus or maybe 40 plus points at least. So I think West Virginia will be a big favorite in that game. I don't have any blue games on this schedule for West Virginia, but I do have some purple games. So let's go to the purple games now, where West Virginia will be favored by at least a touchdown at 60%. And I got three of them on here: Cincinnati, Baylor, and UCF. All the three games here in the month of November: Cincinnati, Baylor, and UCF. I think West Virginia will be favored by at least a touchdown in all three of these games. All three of these teams, besides UCF, weren't very good last year. Cincinnati, Scott Satterfield entering his second year as the head coach. We don't know how good this team is going to be. I don't know how good Baylor is going to be either. Baylor is a team that has a lot of question marks. They're not really the same program as they used to be, like back then, 3 years ago. And they haven't been really good in the last couple years. So I don't really know what to expect from Baylor. I think West Virginia is the more talented team here compared to both of these teams that you're seeing in the purple. UCF, I was very close to putting that game as a 50-50 game, but I'm going to stick with it and put it in the purple just because I think West Virginia is a more talented team here than UCF. And plus, they're playing at home here in this game, so I think that's the reason why I do favor West Virginia here by at least a touchdown. I don't have any underdog games for West Virginia this year. I think the rest of the 8 games that you're seeing here in the white are 50-50 games here for West Virginia. All these games that you're seeing in the white, 8 games total, are 50-50 games, including the Big 12 games and including the non-conference games with Penn State and Pittsburgh. I know Pittsburgh was not very good last year, but it is a road game, and it's kind of a back-and-forth game when West Virginia and Pittsburgh do play each other these days. So I do expect that kind of be a back-and-forth game. Penn State was a very tough one. I was very close to putting that game in the yellow, but West Virginia, based off of where they were last year and based off of being them at home, I think that's the reason why I do make this one a 50-50 game as well. And like I said with the Big 12, anybody can win in the Big 12. Anybody can win a conference game. Anything can happen in this conference. These teams are going to beat up on each other, and that's the reason why a lot of these games that you're seeing here for West Virginia are 50-50 games. So let's now get a projected record here for West Virginia for 2024. And again, this is not an official prediction. This is simply a projection based on how tough the schedule is. So we count that one green game as a win against UAlbany, and then we average out those 3 purple games at 60%, and then you average out all the 50-50 games. And let's say they win 4 out of the 8 games here in the 50-50 range, and you split those 50-50 games, and you say they win 4 out of the 8. The overall projected record that you get for West Virginia comes out to be 8-4 here for 2024. So same overall record as last year in the regular season, but again, this is not an official prediction. This is simply a projection based on how tough the the schedule is. And I think this schedule really sets up nicely for West Virginia because, like I said, you do get Kansas at home, you get Iowa State at home, and you also get Kansas State at home. And those are very winnable games there for West Virginia. And those are definitely, if they win all three of these games, those are definitely going to get West Virginia some really big hype going into this upcoming season. So I think West Virginia can win at least like 4 out of the 8 games here that you're seeing in the 50-50 range. Yes, they do got some tough road games with Pittsburgh, Oklahoma State, and Arizona and Texas Tech. Those are pretty much even matchups as well. But I think these are all very winnable games that you're seeing here in the 50-50 range for West Virginia. I think best case scenario for this team would definitely be 9-3. Worst case scenario would probably be 7-5 or 6-6, especially for a team that's coming off an 8-4 season, and also a 9-4 season if you count their bowl game from last year. But again, 8-4 is my projection here for the West Virginia Mountaineers. Give me your thoughts on this West Virginia team down in the comments below, and also give me your worst case scenario and best case scenario for this team down in the comments below as well. Thanks for watching this video, and stay tuned here for more sports content videos on my Lucas Ross Sports channel.